My dudes, it is a Wednesday, and of course you know what that means. It is time, once again, to revisit Velocity Lake, the theme park that I am slowly but steadily building in Planet Coaster. And we leave we pick up pretty much right where we left off, which, come to think of it, is pretty much how we start every episode. Moving on regardless. As you can see, we've got to the station that I finished last episode. And again, I think I mentioned last episode that this station will unfortunately not be with us for much longer. I ended up going with a station that I ultimately prefer a lot more, and that's what we're going to be doing in this episode, building that. So I hope you agree that it's an upgrade over what you see before you. I thought I'd quickly show you kind of the finishing of the construction of the station here. Obviously, I'm not going to show you the entirety of the construction because what's the point? Bit of a waste of time when it's going to get destroyed anyway. But this is kind of how the kind of Mark 1 station ended up looking, so you can make your own judgments whether or not I made a good decision knocking this one down. I was planning on just showing the entire thing in like hyperlapse form, like I did at the end of last episode, where I just showed it like 700% real-time speed just to get the build done really quickly, but you can see the whole thing happening. However, upon rewatching that episode, it's very difficult to tell what's going on. It's very nauseating, quite frankly. It was a very poor decision on my part. So now I'm just going to take the Mike Sheets approach and just show you a finished overview of how things looked. Looked being the past tense of the word look, because as you can see, it is very much a thing of the past. It is gone. F in chat all round. So now we can get to actually building the final station. Now, the station itself is based on a real... I've got Google Chrome open. Hang on, let me just... what was it based on? It was based on a Disney station or like a hotel entrance or something. Oh, man, I might have deleted it. It's based on some kind of, like a Disney park station. Like, not one of the themed rides. It might be like the valet area of one of their themed hotels. I'm not sure. Hey, there you are. That's the theme of the comment section. Leave a comment down below if you recognize what this might be based on. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really look anything like the station I based it on. I mainly based it on that station from the perspective of how the roof structure looks and how the overall general construction appears, but it's a different color, it's made of different materials, and the roof itself doesn't have any dormers, which is another thing that is station. So basically, don't worry about it, guys. This is a station unique in design to Velocity Lake. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with the old silverette trick of using chimneys to form pillar bases, which is, works well. I think it's kind of a crooked appearance. It's a shame there's no like cleaner chimneys in this game, but they fit pretty well. I will of course be getting rid of the chimney bit itself. I'm going to occlude it using some coaster support pieces to form the base, not base, but to form the actual skeleton of the building itself. It's going to be very bare bones. It's not going to be a contained station like I don't know, the B&M sit down, the big red one I should say, because this of course is a B&M sit down, but the big Hulk-inspired, I think it's called the Red Devil coaster. That's a very much indoor dark station. This is going to be much more exposed, much more akin to, say, the RMC coaster, which, the RMC coaster isn't really themed, and this one doesn't really have much of a theme either. And so I just left the station looking very generic, very Six Flags-esque. It functions, it looks pretty nice, but it doesn't really follow any sort of set theme. Now, I said that this coaster doesn't really have a set theme, and that's not entirely true. You may remember right at the very beginning of the little mini-series contained within this series of which we build this coaster, I mentioned the name very briefly. It's ended up being called Pulsar, which of course is sort of a spacey thing. Well, it is a space thing, but it's kind of lends itself to a very sci-fi-ish theme. So I know I've already got a roller coaster themed around sci-fi, but I'm gonna do it again. So we're gonna do a very loose sci-fi theme. This is by no means... In fact, I just realized it's kind of weird, because the other sci-fi coaster is also a B&M sit-down. The very one I mentioned earlier, the Red Devil coaster. That has a much heavier sci-fi theme. Like, the sci-fi theming of that is much, much more obtuse than this one. Like, this one is just very pale white colors, like sort of 2009 Star Trek kind of colors. They were lots of white, pristine structures. There are a couple of spaceships in the queue line as well, which I admit probably are not that subtle when it comes to theming, but they're the small prefab spaceships. They're not like custom-built monstrosities. Well, I guess monstrosity is not really the right word, because some people have made amazing MOCs. Maybe that's not the right wording here. Some people have made amazing spaceships out of the pieces in Planet Coaster, and I'm just using the prefabs because they're not really the focus. They're not really the focus of the build, and that's kind of like, that's kind of what I wanted to go for. Sort of somewhat generic, loosely themed. Like if you want a themed coaster, check out the Industrial Revolution, or indeed, like I say, the Red Devil coaster. This is just the spectacle of the coaster is enough. Because this coaster pretty much dominates the landscape of the entire park. No matter where you are in the park, this coaster is pretty much the dominating feature of the skyline. So it's probably for the best that it has a generic theme, because it is basically now the backbone of the entire park. So it's best to keep the theming to a minimum. Now here you can see me constructing these dormers. They're not here for long, but I wanted them. I wanted them. But the thing is, because I built this completely custom roof structure, none of the like pre-built roofs in this game would fit this structure. So I'm gonna have to make the roof manually using tiling and all that. And I couldn't quite get it to work very well incorporating these dormers. Like, it looks fine from the exterior, but on the interior, which is very much visible to riders and stuff like that, it doesn't look very good. Now I could have fixed this by, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use wooden planks to form the roof to kind of give a kind of a corrugated sort of look to it. One thing I could have done was use the very teeny tiny wooden pieces to make custom roof tiling, like some of the more insane, and I don't regret that choice of words, Planet Coaster builders use, but I didn't think it really fit the aesthetic of the theme I'm going for, and quite frankly, I haven't got enough time to do that sort of thing. I'm a very busy person. So as you can see, you may have caught a bit of a glimpse just then about what I was trying to do, but it didn't really work out. So I thought, you know what? I don't need this in my life. Let's just do it the easy way and get rid of the dormers. Because ultimately, what do they really add aside from better aesthetics and ventilation? Exactly, not much. So we could just move on and not feel too much of a weight on our conscience here. And now it's just a breeze. Getting the rest of the roof built, I raised it above the station just so I could easily select all the parts at once without accidentally selecting parts of the building, I guess. I'm not really sure, actually, why I built it above the station, but I'm sure I had a good reason at the time. And now we can just sink it down, making sure, of course, that our clearance from the cars is appropriate. I kind of used the Planet Coaster operator, operating the ride as the scale to make sure this thing was correctly positioned, as in it was high enough, but not unrealistically high. So high enough, but also believably low enough. Maybe if I thought about what I was going to say more often, then I could probably formulate better commentaries. But what are you going to do? Let's just move on. So as you can see, although the main sort of structure, the main heart of the station is done, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. A lot of work that needs to be done. We need to do the transfer track, all of the building that accommodates the actual queue line, the fencing, I guess the queue line itself, let's face it, the exit line. There's a lot that needs to be done. The first thing I said in that rather long list, also the maintenance shed. That's quite a big one. That's what we're going to do quite soon, don't worry. But one of the things I said was we need to do the transfer track. So that's the thing we're going to do right now. We're going to build the transfer track. And I say this every time I build a transfer track in Planet Coaster, but for those that are new to this series or this game in general, welcome. It's a great game. Hope you like it. This is not a great channel, but I hope you like it as well, regardless. Transfer tracks in this game are not functional. That's one of my big wish lists of Planet Coaster 2, or indeed any theme park game that wants to come along and fill in the gap that Roller Coaster Tycoon left when Atari decided that it didn't care anymore. I would really like functional transfer tracks. I think it would be really, really cool. But as it is right now, they're completely non-functional. They're cosmetic only. The purpose of a transfer track is it allows people not just anyone. It allows the roller coaster operator to get the car off the main roller coaster circuit and into a little maintenance shed, either for storage or, as I say, maintenance, reassembly, refurbishment, that sort of thing, and can allow like another train to then take its place so the ride can constantly remain operating. And some rides, for example, as well, when parks are busy, they might run 2 or even 3 or even more trains along the track, but during like quieter days when they don't need to be running all those trains, they can just whack a couple of them in the maintenance shed and keep their operating costs low and efficient, that sort of thing. So there are many benefits to a maintenance shed. I feel like I didn't really need to explain them, but at this point, guys, I've talked about this exact topic every single time I've built a transfer track, which there aren't many in Velocity Lake, I guess. I mean, how many coasters are there? There's the Blue Bullet, think it's called the Blue Bullet. The Infinite Megalight. That has one. The Junior Coaster does not. Smaller coasters, like the very small coasters in real life, tend to not bother with it. Red Devil does. Vertigo does. The RMC does. Industrial Revolution does. And those are all the roller coasters, I think. I'm trying to think. Hopefully I've not forgotten any, because every roller coaster, I don't know. That's one of the things I like about Velocity Lake. I can tour the park and I see the roller coasters and I remember building them. I remember like what was going on in my life during that time. Like I remember when we were watching, when I was building the RMC, I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine with my partner Beth. Some of you may remember her from the Minecraft series I did, the 2-part episode where we did an adventure map. Me and her were just watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine on my second monitor. Planet Coaster, I like building, I don't know. I will go through phases where I don't play it for like 6 weeks or so, and then I'll just go on a massive binge and just play it for like 8 hours a day and build loads, just because, like, not for the sake of, making YouTube content, but just because I just get like the bug. I just want to build something, and then I just get like addicted to it. Addicted is not really the right word, because addictive has like a bit of a negative connotation. But I don't know, I just get the bug, and then I want to just build things. It's super satisfying to see everything come together. And during this process, I like to still spend time with Beth. So we like to watch a show like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or I don't know, something like It's Always Sunny, which I've seen 10,000 times, 10,000 times over. So I don't really need to pay that much attention to it. So I can just stick that on my second screen. She can sit with me, and we can watch the show together. But I can just poodle along in Planet Coaster, because really it doesn't take that much sort of attention for me, because that's probably a detriment to me. Like, that's probably why my buildings never come out quite as good as some other builders, because I don't always focus 100% on what I'm doing. But I got 2 monitors. They're both 27-inch, so that's both like kind of television sized almost. So we could both just park up our chairs in front of the screens, just watch the show, and I could just work away on Planet Coaster, things like this. That's what we do. Anyway, that was a little side tangent to my main point, which is that, when I was building the RMC, I remember we were watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine at the time. When we were building this coaster, we were watching It's Always Sunny rerun again. What other memories do I have? I don't know. Let's think. Back when I was building the Infinite Megalight, I'd only recently bought my house and was moving in, so the whole thing was a tip. It was a very stressful time in my life. I really used the initiation of Velocity Lake to help with all that stress, that sort of thing. So, I've got a lot of memories associated with this park's history, because it's like a year old. In fact, I think when this video goes live, that will pretty much be the 1-year anniversary. I probably should have planned this out. See, I'm currently recording this in, I was going to say February, but now it's March. And this park was started in April. So yes, it is definitely a year old, to the month at least. I don't know if it's to the day. But it will definitely have been, its anniversary month would have been this month. So yeah, it's been one heck of a year. It's been a busy year. Like, if I say my first year in my new house, where, it was a bit of a project, as you guys, as veterans of this series probably know. I've probably talked about my house a fair deal. It's a bit of a project. I've lived through many building sites. In fact, I'm reliving through a building site right now as I prepare to have my kitchen done. Lots of disasters throughout the year. It's just like a year. That's a long time to be working on one park. And so walking through the park in real time using Tegid Cam or something, it's like, oh yeah, I remember what I was doing back then. I remember when I was building the entrance building, I was showing Beth and I was like, hey, look, I based this on this building in a place called Newquay. And then we ended up talking about Newquay, and then we just went to Newquay on holiday. And then we could like say, oh, look, it's the Velocity Lake building. And it's just a lot of memories, good and bad, but mostly good, I think, tied to this park. So it's going to be it's going to be a real emotional moment when I declare it finished and I move on to other things. So it's been one might say, a real roller coaster. The construction of this theme park, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the ride as we go. Oh, there we go, another pun just there. I hope you guys have enjoyed the ride as we've gone along. And of course, there are still many things that need doing, so worry not. We are still many episodes, short of the completion of this park, and it's also the longest running, I guess, series on this channel. Now I think about it, I mean, I guess if you want to classify Kerbal Space Program as just its own series, and I guess that's the longest running. That's been going on since 2015. But in terms of a series of videos around a certain theme, this is the longest running. Like Neptune Park topped out at about 32 episodes or 33, 34. So I mean, Velocity Lake now, we're well into the 40s. This is episode 42, I believe. So, it's a very long-running series, and I don't imagine we're going to be done any time before episode 50, put it that way. So we've got many more memories to form, guys. And this commentary got kind of deep. So, yeah. Whew. Let's all just take a sip back and take a sip out of our beverages. In this case, I have a nice cold can of Pepsi Max, maximum taste, no sugar. Only to be sold as part of a multi-pack. Pepsi, if you'd like to sponsor my channel, I will happily take a sponsorship. I just started reading the can and they're like, oh yeah, the legal note about not selling it as a single can probably isn't that interesting to the viewer. But, this is what this series is. Just me talking about utter nonsense, because I introduced the topic in this case. Oh god, in fact I didn't. Here you can see me constructing the maintenance shed, or at this point completing the construction of the maintenance shed. I introduced the topic of the transfer track, but I did not even notice that we'd graduated beyond that to constructing the actual maintenance shed itself. But I hope it all made sense. And again, I have talked about the construction of transfer tracks, maintenance shed, all that good stuff throughout this series as and when I've done them. So I guess it's nothing really you guys needed elaboration on this point. So yeah, that's I think this episode is only going to be like 20 minutes long, to be honest, because this is another conundrum I have. I got all the footage of me divvying everything up, and like you guys probably know from my comments in previous episodes, I generally aim for between 15 to 25 minutes for these episodes. Typically 20 is what I consider to be the sweet spot, but in this case I have 60 minutes of sped up, time-lapse, color corrected, all that good stuff footage where I build the station and buildings. And so logic would dictate that I could split that into 20-minute episodes. But right now, this episode worked out quite well. It's the construction of the basic things. But the next episode is basically just things like paths, fencing, kind of stuff immediately concerning the fencing, that sort of thing. That there's no real way for me to separate the next 40 minutes into 20-minute episodes. So I'm deliberating doing another 40-minute episode. And I know whenever I suggest in these commentaries, you guys want longer episodes, I guess the comments always have an overwhelming yes as the general, message to me. But I always find that when I look at my, YouTube analytics, the longer episodes, the viewer retention rate is not as good. People tend to skip through them a bit more. So I'm a bit more hesitant because I guess the people that write comments are the more passionate fans. And, you're the guys that I always really appreciate. I mean, let's face it, the people that everyone that watches this series are my more passionate fans. I hate saying fans because then I feel like really narcissistic and egotistical, but you get what I mean, right, guys? I feel like most of the guys here that aren't here for Planet Coaster, which I guess is most of you. Like, I know there are some people that subscribe to my channel for Planet Coaster. You guys, I see all your comments. I don't always reply to them. Can't always heart them because I don't want to have a whole... Thing is, I don't like hearting comments because I want to heart a few, but then when I heart like a bunch, then someone else will leave a really, really nice comment that I miss by seconds, but then I don't heart it, and then I don't want that person to feel, pardon the pun, disheartened by it. So now I kind of want to only reserve the heart for like 2 or 3 comments. But then I worry that if I don't heart many comments, people will think that I'm not even reading the comment section. So trust me, if I don't heart your comment or reply to it, I have definitely seen it. And that's one of my favorite parts of, not just Velocity Lake, but Planet Coaster videos and just videos I make that aren't KSP in general, is that I always get to read the comments. I get to interact with fans a lot more. And again, using the word fans very, very loosely there. But, I get to kind of hear you guys' voice a bit better than I do in Kerbal Space Program videos. So, that's a thing. So I'm going to show another POV of this coaster, because why not wrap up this video with a POV of the coaster that we've been servicing throughout this video. Last episode, I did kind of the epic, color-corrected POV to music, all that good stuff. Haven't uploaded that video yet, so maybe you guys would have commented saying, oh, please do this every time you show a POV, because we prefer this. But, oops, haven't seen those comments because they don't exist yet. So for now, I'm just going to assume that maybe you guys liked it, possibly, but also don't mind me talking over POVs every so often. If you don't like this, just click on, go subscribe to my channel, ring that bell, donate to Patreon, go to my channel, and then check out episode 41. I think it's 40. I don't even know. Gosh, just the thrills of riding this roller coaster has sucked out all the lucidity out of myself. That was horrible phrasing. And that's going to be, I guess that's going to be the lingering thought, because this video is pretty much over in just a second. I guess I've never shown a full uncut commentary all the way to the station. Actually, no, I think I have now I say it. I was going to say, oh yeah, I panned out before and I wanted to check the support. But I think, no, last episode I did show a fully uncut commentary. Either way, this is the first, POV you guys have seen with the new station, which of course is not yet finished, but the bulk of it is done and in its so-called final form. So I hope you guys liked it, and I hope you'll agree with me that it's an upgrade over what we had before. If it's not, and you liked the station before, again, leave it below, because then if I do end up building another roller coaster for this park, I'll try and incorporate designs from the old station into the aesthetic appearance of the new station. But all of that is very much hypothetical, all in the future. Haven't done that yet. What I have done is put some links on screen for you guys. Left-hand side, full playlist. Right-hand side, best for viewer as chosen by YouTube's algorithm. There are links to things in the description. I mean, you guys know the drill, right? Yeah, I can leave it there. Goodbye.